my other VOD review, I did the same thing. But first thing I'll do is go over the good points. The first good point that I liked is that your ult usage. Ult usage. I liked your ult usage. It was pretty decent. You didn't hold on to it the entire match, and the situations that you did use it in made sense. Some general points to keep in mind is that why are you playing the healer that you're playing? For Mercy is for the res and the damage boost. For Baptiste is for your immortality field, your AoE heals, and your fast charging ult. Another point you want to keep in mind is positioning against snipers and DPS. And another one is positioning during and before the fight. And thinking about where you're at right now and whether you can do it effectively at a different place. Okay, so we'll start off with Mercy. Let me get you up real quick. RANDYORTON. Alright. So when you are playing Mercy, you just want to be basically down boosting like 9% of the time and only healing when you absolutely need to. The reason being is that with Ashe, you can do a max of 195 on a headshot, and that's enough to kill most of the characters on the roster, because most of the time people will be taking spam damage and random spam damage, so the 5 HP won't really matter most of the time. It will matter some of the time, but basically you just want to be damage boosting either this Ashe most of the time or the DPS. That's your job as Mercy, to just pocket the DPS. You don't want to be pocketing the tank unless they absolutely need it, or you're playing with a low heal comp. But as will come up later, you get a Mora. Mora is more than enough for your team to help to keep your tanks alive. Downward boosting Ashe also gets downward boosting what's called dynamites, and it also makes Bob much more faster. The old generation. So even right here, just downward boost the Ashe. You don't need to heal the tank. And in general, your default should always be downward boost, not heal. Because you're not playing Mercy for the heals, you're playing Mercy to downward boost and to res. And one other concept I want you to go over, think about, is whether or not you're playing in the right positioning and whether or not what you're doing right now can be done in a better position. So with Mercy, you don't really see. The idea is that you don't want to see the enemy because your effectiveness isn't hampered by your ability to see the enemy. You can just beam people if you're over here, or if you're over here, and you don't really see them, right? You can damage boost them like this, damage boost like this, or even heal them. The only time you really want to see the enemy is like never. You want to minimize the amount of time that you're exposed to the enemy, especially against snipers, because you're able to just res people, and if you're dead, you can't res people. Look at the amount of spam that you're getting at right now because you're out here. Because you're out here, right? People are able to see you like this, and they're able to spam you out. But if you play around here, they can't shoot through walls, right? They can't do anything to you. You're basically protected, and there's no danger at all unless a flanker comes through this window, through the top left, and gets on you. But since you're near this wall, you can just be looking around and even look at this flank to make sure nobody flanks on you, because you don't really need to even see this choke in the first place. So always think, where would be a better positioning for me to be in? Okay, pull you up real quick. F9. Like this position right now, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent, I would say. Down boost. bad position. Why again? Because you're exposed at the choke. You don't need to be seeing the enemy in your mercy. And this would be a moment where Ashe could have helped, could have needed you the most. I think she went on the flank over here. What ideally would have happened is that you would have actually gone up to Ashe, and left the Moira to heal the tank line by themselves. Especially since Hog has his self heal. He can just survive all by himself. So really, the Moira is just there just to help your Doomfist and your Reinhardt. But when you're on a flank with Ashe, you can basically heal her and damage boost her at any time possible. You're basically a one-man army, just with the two of you. This is the only moment where I would say you need to heal. Throughout the entirety of this, I would say you need damage boost. The reason being is that because your Reinhardt is critical, and if he dies, you guys are going to be set back by another like 20 or 30 seconds from respawns. Another moment where I say you need to heal, but right here, switch to damage boost because he's slamming right now, right? And that slight bit of, I think it's 25% damage boost, might be able to help him kill someone. I like what you did there, but the only thing is that you could have actually flown further. You canceled your flight a little bit short. If you I think either hold space at the end of your flight or either like press it, you can go past your past the ally you're guarding Angel to. The reason being why you wanted to fly a bit further is that, let's see. So right here, look at this. You are currently in the middle of basically 3 people right now, and maybe even the Echo looked like she's shooting at you too. So this, and this. You're basically in the middle of them. So ideally, what would happen is that you would actually fly past the Doomfist and gone behind him. So what happens is that the Doomfist is basically your pseudo tank, and you'd be healing him all the time or down boosting him. And especially in these moments where your team is trying to clean up is when you want to be down boosting your allies. You could be down boosting your Reinhardt because he has a big hammer or is able to swing stuff around, or you can down boost your Hog when he gets hooks. Really anyone. Just be down boosting, don't be healing, especially when your Moira is up. When people are anti-nated, don't heal them because it does nothing. Down boost him if you need to, or just switch to another target. When Wardar hooks, down boost him if you're quick enough on it. That extra big damage boost can help him get over the kill threshold and let him one-shot people. Especially when you're lower ranks, Hogs aren't able to get their one-shot combos 100% correct. So that extra bit of damage boost could actually help you like confirm that kill. Okay, and yet again, what you want to be doing is sticking to your Ashe. And I've already gone this before, but of course, Moira can save your tanks and you save the DPS. But because you didn't save the Ashe, look at what's happening right now. She was forced to go down and back off against the McCree. If you're with the Ashe, you could probably easily kill the McCree, or not even be forced to actually get this minion in the first place. And look what happens because you're not with your Ashe. He dies. And you're forced to res her. I agree with this ult. The reason being is that your team has already gotten 2 kills. And your ult is able to swing the momentum to your favor. And basically confirm this fight is going to win. When you're Valking, please damage boost. You're basically a bongo, mobile bongo, like Orissa's ult. You're basically a mobile version of it. Remember, you're playing Mercy for the damage boost, not the heals. And especially on 2 CP, that extra bit of damage boost can help you guys win against stall. So, if I were you, after doing that Valk, what I've done instead is gone to my Ashe. So, instead of sticking a point, you would be going to your Ashe instead. Because your team doesn't really need your help. Your DPS needs your help. Winning this 1v1 against this Reinhardt. Just always imagine yourself as babysitting your DPS. Because that's what you do as Mercy. You babysit your DPS and enable them to do more damage and enable them to do more stuff. Okay. Now I want to talk about snipers. Snipers are especially when you want to think about where you're effective, where you're being effective at, and whether or not you actually want to see them. So, being right here means that you're visible. Look at this. Even though it's a small bit, you're still visible against an enemy Widow. And as you go higher up in the ranks, Widows are going to exploit this and just headshot you instantly. It's fine if your Ashe gets headshotted and dies instantly because you have the res. But it's bad if you die because you can't res yourself, you know? So what a better position would be is either staying over here and either like floating, guarding Angel and just like slowly flying up, back up, or even just over here. Because most of the time Widows won't be able to hit you unless they grab a shot. And if you want to be even safer, you can tether to the Ashe and do like this. Because your tether for your healing and your damage boost, I think it lasts either 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds around there. So you can actually allow the beam to go through walls and just peek around just to refresh that duration. You can test it on your own against like training bots or in your quick play games or something like that. And see, look what happens. It's a Widow. And she nearly killed you. Luckily she missed. Yet again. Down boost, down boost, down boost. You could have gotten much more higher ult charge on your Ashe on that Dynamite. And again, you're exposed to a Widow. To help a person who doesn't really need your help, right? Hawk can self-sustain on his own. This comp would be one exception where I'd say you need to focus more on healing. The reason being is that you have Zen on your team, and Zen isn't able to output the amount of healing that other supports like Moro or Baptiste or Ana can. So these are moments where you need to focus a little bit more on healing. But yet again, your team is is very self-sufficient. Your Hawk can heal himself. Your Stake has his own shields. He can regenerate his own HP. It's only your DPS that are very squishy and need your help. And your Zen when he needs it. You can't really do anything with that. It's your tank's fault. But again, let's think about this, right? Effective range. Do you really need to look at this? And when you do look at this, what you want to be doing is jiggle pinking, or 80-80 strafing. I'm pretty sure maybe you've seen this, but what a lot of higher elo people do is they just do this, they crouch spam, and they do that. It just makes you much more harder to hit. Even if you don't think you're being aimed at, you should be doing it anyways, just in case, because it just makes you harder to hit and harder to predict. One tech you can do is when you go for this res, you can actually go around this wall. As long as you're within a certain range, you can actually res to walls, fall down and res. You'll be able to get more used to the range of the res and how much you can get away with as you play the character. But it's just something to think about. But the only dangerous thing about this res is that the Reinhardt sees you, right, and you can't really do anything about it. So ideally, what you've done is actually backed up with the Ashe, and hopefully she would be able to make a space for you to actually res this, because there's a cooldown, there's a timer and in which you're able to res, so you don't need to res the Sigma right away when he dies. You can wait a little bit. And most of the time, your life is worth more than the person you're resing for, unless it's a fight-winning ultimate. Example being Zarya with Graph, Sigma with Graph Lux, Ana with a Nano that's needed to combo with someone else, Reiner with Shatter. Those are fight-winning ultimates that you might want to sacrifice your life for. Well, most of the time, you don't want to.
No dying on my watch. Objective lost.
Alright, and now let's talk about Baptiste. So with Baptiste, what you want to do is kind of the same thing at Mercy, but there are moments at which you can peek out and shoot the enemy because you have your left click. You don't do that as Mercy because you can't really shoot people unless you pull out your pistol. So what you're gonna be doing is maximizing the amount of things that you're doing, or just choosing one action and just doing that for a little bit and choosing to a different action. So that would be healing your team, and then once they're full, you're gonna be looking to pressure the enemy with your left clicks. Another small thing is that you can control the recoil of Baptiste's primary fire if you just pull down a little bit. I noticed that you don't control that recoil, but it helps if you just pull down a little bit and just keep on pulling down every single time you do the burst fire. Positioning, I'll position up here. The reason being, Widow exists. If Widow pops up here, or back here, up here, down here, she has all these sightlines at which she can shoot you, right? But if you're up here, really, let me drag over there real quick. The only positions she's able to see you is here, down here, and maybe up here if she's taking an aggressive angle, or over here. And you can even cut out these sightlines if you go even further. If you go over here, you're basically protected most of the time, unless somehow she gets a really nasty angle on you. But this is really dangerous spot because you're open to all these angles at which Widow can shoot you and kill you. So your team is all healed up except for that person critical, right? So these are moments where you don't look for your primary fire. And right here you see it. You see Mei, and you see the wall. So what you should be doing right now is shooting the wall. why are you doing this? Not really healing, you're just healing your teammates to full HP, right? Another thing about this spot is that look how hard it is to actually hit people when they're on point. But when you're over here, it makes it much more easier because they're just right in front of you. They're like on a side, like a is it y-axis, x-axis, x-axis. They're basically all over here, and you can shoot down like this, right? But as you get from your angle, you have to basically aim straight down, and you have to deal with different kind of movements. People move on all different kind of directions, right? Like this. They can move this way, this way, this way. Infinite amount of movement. But as you go over here, what happens is that it's a lot more easier because people only move really from side to side and back to back, and sometimes like this. But because you're at this angle, it's a lot more easier. Just trust me, alright? You can try it yourself. See how much easier it is. If it isn't, come back and tell me. And this was a moment where you see what happens, right? Widow pops up here, and she's able to see you and hits one shot on you. Fortunately, she misses. She gets a body shot on you. But now you see what happens. Over here is also a pretty decent place for you to be in. The reason being is that you're able to pop in and out and just heal your team or either left click people. One critique I have of your gameplay is that you do a lot of heal botting where you only heal people. What you're gonna be doing is weaving in your primary fire with your healing or your secondary fire. You can fire 2 of your primary bursts in the frame that in like the gap between your heal. So even if you only do 1 primary fire, 1 heal, 1 primary fire, 1 heal, that's a lot more optimal than doing heal, 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 heal. Because it's fitting a lot more actions in the amount of time you're allotted. So you see it again, right? What's so dangerous about being this spot? You're exposed to this, to the Widow, to this Mercy, to this Ana. They're all looking at you, right? Because they want to kill the healer that's keeping everyone alive. But look at this. When you're over here, the only things you're exposed to is this, and the diva that's like peppering you with like little cornflakes or something. And as you keep on popping in and out, you're basically minimizing the amount of time that the Ana, the Widow, the Mei is able to see you. And not only that, if the Mei does chase you, you can retreat up here, or you can retreat to spawn, and your team is able to help you. But the enemy team is not able to help the Mei. It's fine that you're like this, but remember not to jump when you're playing against Widows or any DPS because it actually makes you more predictable. I like this play, but what you should have done instead is you should have gone up here, right here. So the reason being is that once your immortality dies, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be charging your boots, and then once the immo dies, you want to jump up and either go up here or jump back and go back here. But because you're over here, you don't have that freedom of choosing where you're going. You either bonk your head against this, or hopefully you survive against 5 people that are looking at you right now. You could probably save him with your ammo, as you probably noticed if you're a little bit quicker. Even if you like, if you see people critical and you think they're gonna die, just throw out the ammo. Even if they're not gonna actually die, it's just a safety precaution. This was the moment I was talking about, where you're at this corner and you have the freedom of either going up or even back. But unfortunately, you die because everyone's looking at you. But now you see the problem of this. You are without cooldowns. You're in the middle point. 1, 2, 3, and 4 people are currently looking at you. But if you're back here, you're able to minimize the amount of people that are looking at you, and you're still able to help your team by either healing your Doomfist or even damaging people.
Score 2-2. Initiating match. Ready for battle.
Okay, and now let's talk yet again about positioning. So, from where you are right now, where are you exposed? I'll give you like 10 seconds. Maybe you can just pause the video. Okay, so the answer is if Widow grapples up here, or Widow grapples up here, or if they manage to get an angle on you up here. Okay, so while it isn't too dangerous and it depends on the hero, it's still not optimal position. What most healers do in Hanamura is they play in a couple of positions. Let me see if I can get a pretty good view on this. So what most healers do is Ana's usually play over here. The reason being is that they have a pretty good sightline. Only problem is that they also have the same problem of being exposed to Widow makers that are either going up on the gate or through main. Another spot that a lot of healers play is over here, on point sometimes. Still dangerous because yet again you're exposed to DPS. But it also gives you a better sightline on their enemy if you have playmaking potential. Like players like Zen, Ana, or Baptiste. Another spot you sometimes see people go on is here. It's not a spot I recommend. Or up here too. Some people play up here. I don't recommend it. If I were you, I'll be playing here or in here. The reason being is that you have the mini over here, and you also have the sightlines of your enemy team or your ally team in case you either push forward. You also have an easier time of hitting your teammates with your heal grenades. And look how hard it is for you to actually hit these nades as your team pushes up. So the reason being is that this thing is blocking you, right? So you either have to hit right here, or you have to try and aim your nades so that it lobs over this little obstruction. But if you're over here, look how much easier it is, right? You can just like right click on your tanks. You also have the freedom of right clicking up there. You can back up. You can heal your teammates through this. Another spot that Ana plays through. That you can also play through, but it's not as effective as the first spot. Is this? It's a pretty easy. It's much more easier angle to actually heal your teammates. You're able to get it more consistently than if you're playing up where you're at right now. And then we'll see. Number one rule when you're playing Overwatch, don't stand still. It makes you extremely easy to hit, especially with snipers on their team. Immortality wasn't necessary. Reason being, no one on your team was critical. No one was probably gonna die unless somehow you predicted a Widow headshot. So, not very necessary. But once you did get out ammo, what you should have gone for instead is look at where Widow is right now. She's looking straight at you and she missed a shot on you. So after you got that immortality field, and it was down, what you should have gone through instead was gone through here. Reason being, you can do exactly what you're doing right now, shooting D.Va from the spot where from over here. And you're at a much safer positioning, where Widow is not able to get the opportunity to actually kill you. Okay. I like both those actions, finishing off the D.Va and also pressuring out the Widowmaker. These are the moments where you're gonna look for, where you're able to not heal your team, and you're able to do something else. Pressure the enemy DPS, hit shields, annoy the healer backline, so that they have to focus more on healing each other than healing their teammates. See right there? Even just hitting that small amount of what's called Reinhardt shield did much more than you just healing your team aimlessly. Okay. And you'll be able to see one more spot. One more reason why this spot is bad. So, if your team pushes up over here and past the choke point, you can't heal them through walls, right? So what you have to do is you have to walk these 10 seconds, or like 5 or 10 seconds to heal your team, in case they manage if they stay up here. I'm pretty sure you've experienced this a lot in ranked, where your team just pushes out your sight lines, and this is what happens if you play too far back. If you're up here, you'll be able to walk with your team as you notice them going forward. But because you're so far back, it takes much more longer. Pressure the D.Va on the point with your left clicks. D-Mecker. Killer. Your team doesn't need your help healing right now. Why are you healing a full health Roadhog when he has self-heal up and there's an enemy D.Va right in front of you that you can just kill? A Mei is walking right in front of you. Your tanks are full HP. Kill the Mei. Kill the Ana that's hard scoping right now and looking at your enemy team. Look how easy it is for me to hit you, because you are standing still. I like the idea behind your immortality field because you saw the Warthog glow. But in hindsight, you probably didn't need it. Still a good idea though. Kill the Mei. You do a lot more pressure to the Mei and force her to ice block than just healing your Reinhardt that's getting frozen by the Mei. Unfortunate, but what I would have positioned for instead, let me get back up here. So after you push forward, a good option for you to be in is here. Reason being is yet again, you're at a safe position where you're able to heal your team or damage enemies without exposing yourself to multiple angles of danger. But because you're over here, you're exposed to this, to this, to this, to the enemies on point. But it's unfortunate you fell.
10 seconds.
It happens. Okay. So,
Someone's looking out for me.
last point. Ideally, what you should have gone for instead is gone top left. But I like the idea behind this window because what it does is it pressures the Ryan to either keep on going forward and get his shield broken, or fall back and make some space for your team. Kind of dangerous though. If you think about it, you could have done that same play through here, and you wouldn't have been in danger of actually being charged or pinned in the first place, because he's not able to charge through walls, right? Or up ledges. And if you're up here, you wouldn't have gotten shattered, because he can't shatter through walls. And this is like the worst position you can be in, right? If this was a full team fight, you're in the middle of the team. You're in the middle of everyone, right? Your position, anyone can just turn on you and kill on you. Here, here, up here, up here. So yet again, stay at positions where you can minimize the amount of sight lines where the enemy can kill you.
Score 3-2. Switching sides. Initiating match. 3, 2, 1. Attackers in. Buckle down. Get it done.
Left click to me. You only heal full HP tanks. That was good. If you're in voice chat, what you should be telling your team is to push forward. You don't do anything with this, what you're doing right now. And right now, your Doomfist is making all the space in the world. You can't heal through shields. You can't heal through shields. If I were you, just throw the immortality field. You did it too late. Unfortunate. Your Ash was nearly about to die. Good job. I want to point out one moment is after you got this immortality field up, it felt like you kind of didn't know what to do, right? You're just stuck and like, oh my god, I just messed up that immortality field. But try not to get stuck in these moments. Try to always be doing something, whether it be healing your team or just damaging shields like right in front of you. Putting headshots into the Orisa. So ideally what your team should have gone through instead, they should have gone top right through main, or top right, for the high ground. Reason being is gives your DPS and also you a good sight line, for you to stage on. But this is good, it's fine. I like the idea behind the window, very nice. And since you're the main healer, you should be babysitting your tanks. So I like the spot that you're in, but you can also consider going up the high ground, either up here or even up here. Because you have your boots, you have the freedom of choosing to go high ground, staying where you are, charging it just in case someone jumps you. But try to think of other options if you think it's better. Now we'll see another problem, right? You're in the middle of the enemy team and your team, and at any moment they can all just focus down on you, and you don't really be able to do anything about it because you don't have your cooldowns. But if you're up here with your Ashe, or if you're back here, you'll be able to either stay over here and just keep on peeking out and healing your team and damaging your damage the enemies, because you have the freedom of choosing when you're going to engage and peek out and shoot at the enemies, and when they have the opportunity to shoot at you. But because you're at the open, they have the freedom of shooting you at any time. Another thing is that if you're up with your Ashe, you're even actually able to help her and maybe even kill the monkey, and might have been able to win the fight. So it's also a pretty good idea to stage with your DPS if you need to. I like the idea behind the window. Only thing is that you could have actually angled it this way. This way. The reason being is that the angle that you chose was kind of weird, because if you decided to start going this way, look how hard it is to actually put your heals or your damage through the window. But if you do it like this, it gives you the freedom of shooting. It's more, it's just better placement. I don't know how to explain it, right? It's just much more easier to shoot through the window if it's like this. But because it's so like thin, and because you have to do it at such a weird angle to actually get your shots off. Look at this. Look at these angles that you have to go through, and the way you did it right now, the easiest way to shoot through it, which is fully flat against you. Look at the amount of who's looking at you right now. The Ana's looking at you, the Mei's looking at you, and the only position that you can actually really back up against is this position, which is kind of sketchy because the Winston could just walk up to you and just damage you at any time. Another thing that you could have done is actually gone use your boots and gone up the high ground. So after you got that immortality field up, you could have charged your boots and gone up high ground. It gives you a better vantage point. Good job. Those are the moments you're looking for. Yet again. Look how dangerous this is, right? You're in the middle of the enemy team, you're in the middle of minefields. You have to spend your immortality because of it. Now imagine if you're up here, right? The Winston would have to either force you, the Winston would either have to jump you, and then if he jumps on you, you have the option of just dropping back down into your enemy, into your team. But because you're in the middle of the enemy team, you're in the middle of a point. He can just keep on walking at you for free.